He didn't have to touch you. The way he looked at you was already a confession. You weren't his lover, you weren't his wife, but you were the moment that made him question everything. He had built a life, a house, a name, a routine that everyone respected, but then you appeared, and for the first time in years, something ancient inside him opened, not out of lust, not out of fantasy, but out of recognition. You didn't need to say a word. Your presence already said everything. It didn't matter how brief the encounter, something between you unlocked, something shifted. He didn't choose you in the way the world defines choice, but his soul remembered you, and maybe that's what shook him the most. That your energy felt like home when his entire life had been built like a fortress. He had chosen stability, predictability, a kind of love that fit perfectly on paper, but you were none of those things. You were wild truth. You were silent knowing. You were the version of love that breaks open the parts of a man he's never dared to meet. He married her, but you awakened something in him she never touched, not because she failed, not because she was wrong, but because her love kept him safe, and yours demanded that he evolve. You never asked for this role. You didn't interfere. You didn't manipulate. You were simply present, and in that presence, you mirrored his shadow. You mirrored his potential. You mirrored the man he might have become if he had chosen truth over comfort. And deep down, he knew it. He knew the moment passed between you wasn't just chemistry. It was memory. The memory of something his soul had always longed for. The kind of connection that defies time and logic. But he stayed where he was, because that was easier. Easier to keep the promises he had already made. Easier to hold on to the version of himself that was accepted by everyone else. And yet, even while he stayed, part of him never left you. You were the secret ache behind his eyes. The silent pull when he lay next to her and couldn't sleep. The memory he buried with logic but couldn't silence in his heart. And you felt it. Even if he never said it, you felt it. Because energy doesn't lie. Because the soul knows what the mouth is too afraid to admit. You didn't need his words. You already knew his truth. But knowing his truth didn't make the pain easier. It made it sharper. Because now you were carrying a love that was never yours to live, only yours to feel. You didn't ask to fall into this. You didn't go looking for stolen glances or spiritual bonds. But sometimes, life doesn't ask for permission. It just delivers someone who changes everything, and then walks away. Or worse, stays in your life, but not fully. He stayed married, stayed committed, but every time your name crossed his mind, his heart whispered a different story. And maybe that's the cruelest kind of love. Not the one that ends, but the one that never begins. The kind that never gets a chance to unfold, to breathe, to be fully realized. He lives with her. He sleeps beside her. He smiles in photographs that get posted on holidays. But you are the thought he can't shake. You are the version of love he never gave himself permission to explore, because to love you would mean facing everything he denied in himself. It would mean burning down the image, the expectations, the polished identity, and not every man is ready for that kind of fire, so he runs. Not with his feet, but with his silence. He avoids the places where he might see you. He buries himself in distractions. He convinces himself it wasn't real, that it was a passing thought, a misunderstanding, but he knows better, and so do you, because when souls meet like that, nothing is the same again. You didn't just see him, you saw through him. You didn't just speak, you echoed. Your energy didn't ask him for anything, it simply reminded him of everything he forgot. And now, you carry that knowing, alone. You hold the weight of a love that lives in the in-between, not quite a beginning, not quite an ending, just the space where truth lives quietly, without closure. Maybe, the most painful part is knowing that he felt it too, that this wasn't unrequited, it was just unspoken. It was mutual, but not lived, shared, but not acted on. And what do you do with a love like that? How do you mourn something that never had a name? How do you let go of someone who never truly held you, but still left a mark inside your soul? You don't move on, not in the way others expect. You move deeper, into yourself. You sit with the ache. You learn from it. You allow it to carve out the spaces where numbness used to live, because pain like this doesn't come to destroy, it comes to reveal. He didn't come into your life to stay, he came to awaken your heart, to awaken your wisdom, to awaken the part of you that knows how deep love can really go. And now, you know that love isn't always about being chosen. Sometimes, love is about remembering what's real, what's rare, what's worth never settling. Again, he married her, but you became the mirror he'll never forget. You became the symbol of the life he didn't choose, but still dreams about when no one's watching. You became the question he never found the courage to answer. But you don't belong to that question anymore. You belong to yourself. The love you felt wasn't wrong. It was sacred. It wasn't wasted. It was illuminating. It didn't break you. It broke you open. And from that opening, something powerful is rising. A woman who knows how to love fully, who knows how to feel deeply, who no longer waits for someone else to recognize her worth. You were never waiting for him to choose you. You were waiting for yourself to awaken. And now you have. This is the moment you stop asking what it meant to him. This is the moment you start asking what it revealed in you. Because that's the real story. Not the man, not the marriage, but the mirror he became, and the soul you discovered in its reflection. If this story feels familiar, the Jung Method can help you understand why. The link is in the first comment. What hurts most is not the fact that he chose another life. It's that he knew exactly what you were and still turned away. Not because it wasn't real, but because it was too real, too intense, too unfamiliar for a man who had built everything around control. He married safety. He married structure. You were something else entirely. You were warmth and electricity. You were the invitation to remember. You were the edge of the cliff and the voice that whispered he could fly. But not every man wants to fly. Some prefer to stay grounded, even if the ground is cold, even if their soul feels muted, even if they fall asleep every night beside someone while dreaming of someone else. He didn't just desire you. He saw himself through you. He remembered what it was like to feel alive, not just functioning, alive. And that is something terrifying. To someone who spent years silencing his own truth, he thought the feeling would fade. He thought if he distanced himself, buried it under logic, avoided your name, he would forget. But the soul doesn't forget. The body may comply. The calendar may move forward, but the soul keeps humming. He stayed in his life, and maybe he convinced himself that was the right thing to do. But every choice he made after meeting you was shaped by the echo of what he couldn't unsee. You awakened something he cannot turn off, and yet he tries. He returns to routine. He smiles in photographs, but something is always missing. You became the missing, and you carried that knowing like a secret. Not because you wanted to, but because you had no other choice. There was no place to speak it, no label for what it was, no room for it to grow. And still, it grew inside you. That is the kind of ache that doesn't leave scars, it leaves silence. It's not sharp, but it is constant. Like a heartbeat you're not sure is yours. Like a song only you can hear. You didn't hold him, but you held the space where he truly existed. You didn't get the life together, but you got the moment that felt more real than years of pretending. And now, you're left not with loss, but with weight. With something that was never tangible, but still changed you. You wonder if it was real, if you imagined it, if it was just you projecting. But projection doesn't explain the tears. It doesn't explain how he froze when you walked into the room. It doesn't explain why his voice cracked when he said goodbye. That wasn't imagination. That was resistance. That was a man trying to keep his soul from rising. You were not a mistake. You were a mirror, a reflection of what he buried, a doorway to what he could have been. And even if he never walks through it, the door exists because of you. That is not failure. That is initiation. Carl Jung believed that we do not meet anyone by accident. He said that what we are not conscious of appears outside of us as fate. That means this was not random. It was designed by your own unconscious to awaken you, and awaken you did. You awakened to the difference between attention and presence, between being desired and being seen, between a man who touches your body and one who recognizes your soul. And now, what do you do with that recognition? You stop waiting. You stop hoping that he will become the man he almost was with you. You stop carrying the future that was never promised, and you begin the deeper work, the returning. You return to your own voice. You return to the version of yourself that you saw reflected in his eyes, the version that was soft, open, luminous. The woman who knows that she is not less just because she was not chosen. The woman who knows she was never meant to be a secret. Let him live the life he chose. Let him carry the weight of silence. Let him build and maintain the image, because that image will never know the kind of intimacy you offered him. He will never say it, but he will remember, in quiet moments, in unexpected dreams, in the face of women who almost carry what you had, but never quite. He will look for you, Not intentionally, not consciously, but through the ache of everything that feels incomplete. That is not your responsibility anymore. You are not here to haunt him. You are here to free yourself. This was never about being with him. This was about becoming you, the woman who doesn't confuse longing with destiny, the woman who doesn't accept fragments when she offers wholeness, the woman who doesn't romanticize suffering in the name of spiritual love. You do not need to carry this alone anymore. You can honor it. You can respect what it awakened. You can grieve the possibility, and then you can choose something else, something that reflects what you now know. You now know the power of your presence. You now know the depth of your love. You now know that what you offer cannot be received by someone who is not willing to meet you at the soul. And because you know that, you will never again give yourself to someone who hides behind timing, fear, or obligation. You will not wait for someone to be ready. You will not try to fit into a life you were never meant to enter. You will no longer stand at the edge of someone else's choice. You will be your own decision. He may have been the mirror, but you were the reflection. And that reflection does not disappear just because he looked away. You remain and you rise. The pain was real, but so was the clarity. The ache was sharp, but so was the awakening. The bond was unseen, but it was undeniable. And even if he walks away, even if he never speaks your name again, even if he rewrites the story in his own mind to make it easier to live with, you know the truth. And that truth belongs to you. You don't need closure. You need expansion. You don't need apology. You need alignment. You don't need him to circle back. You need to move forward, because something has shifted. You are no longer the woman who hopes for a love that cannot meet her. You are the woman who waits for no one, who fills her own soul, who trusts the timing of life not to bring her what she craves, but what matches her frequency. This is not about revenge. This is not about proving your worth. This is about walking with grace in the direction of your own becoming. You became something in his presence, but you became more in his absence, because his absence forced you inward. It forced you to sit with the raw truth that love alone is not enough. That recognition must be met with courage. That energy must be matched by choice. He couldn't choose you, but you can choose yourself. And that is the moment the story changes. That is the moment the echo fades. That is the moment you stop being the woman he remembers and start being the woman you fully are. You will never again be someone's almost. You will never again dim your light for someone who prefers the shadows. You will never again apologize for loving too deeply. He married her, but your love was never meant to be tamed. It was meant to awaken the divine. And now that it has, there is no going back, because the real closure was never in his goodbye. It was in your awakening. It was in the moment you stopped asking why he couldn't choose you and started choosing the version of yourself who will never again beg for love that hides. You are no longer waiting. You are becoming. You are not the echo of what might have been. You are the answer to what comes next. You are no longer bound to a man who fears his own depth. You are drawn now only to those who meet you in your fullness, and the story you write from here will not begin with someone choosing you. It will begin with you choosing everything that your soul never dared to ask for until now. You are free, not because he let you go, but because you let go of needing him to stay. That is your healing. That is your power. That is your peace.